Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Nintendo Fanboyz. I love the Fanboyz. I'm with Steven, and this is actually take two because I screwed up the introduction. And that's how we roll. So before we begin officially, both of us would really like to say thank you to absolutely everyone who participated in last week's, maybe, was it last week?
Yeah, it was last week, I believe.
Okay, well, whenever we did it, the last Nintendo Fanboyz podcast was a resounding success as far as podcasts go. You see, guys, we never know how these things are going to, turn out or whatnot, but at the time of this recording, it's hit 288 views, going to break 300 any moment now. And I got to admit, we were really surprised, but I got to tell you, never underestimate the power of the fans that watch this show and Nintendo fans in general, because you guys really came through. In total, we had 53 comments. We had 21 of you actually participate in what we were looking for, which was essentially to basically tell us how old you were so we could get an idea of which demographic you fell into and whether or not you owned a Wii U rather, and if you didn't own the Wii U, and what were some of the reasons behind this, and what we did not expect. Well, first off, we didn't know how many of you would actually participate. That was one thing. But the stories we got were just amazing, man. People were writing, like you said, they were writing novels of just all kinds of great memories, personal stories. It was amazing. And overall, most of the people that said that they didn't own a Wii U, there were two categories of people, and it was pretty much people who had either moved on, that they were gaming more with, say, Xbox or PlayStation or PC, or then there were those that were simply waiting for the Wii U to have certain games that they wanted. For example, a new Zelda. And now those very same people are saying, well, you know what? I'm just going to wait and see what happens with the NX, because it doesn't make sense to buy a Wii U at this particular point in time if they don't have if it doesn't have the games that they want. For example, a new Zelda, or maybe even a new Metroid, a new F-Zero, something like that. So I thought that was really interesting. But in terms of actual statistics, so I said that 21 people actually participated in the vote. A lot of people did leave comments, but it was just general comments. Obviously, we had 53 comments. So 13 people owned a Wii U that fell in the demographic that we were looking for. So of all of the respondents, that was 61.9%. Those that did not own a Wii U was 7, so 33.3%. And then there was one individual that didn't say either way, but was saying how old they were. And that was only one person, so that was 4.8%. So I thought that was really interesting. That was really, really, really interesting. And it does sort of fall in line with what we were saying. I mean, we knew that the people who would be listening to this podcast would traditionally be Nintendo fans, but I gotta admit, I was really surprised that so many people did come forward saying that they didn't own a Wii U and why they didn't own a Wii U. And yeah, I was really, really impressed.
Yeah, so was I. I honestly, when you decided to do this last podcast, I thought that it was going to be a no-brainer since this is a Nintendo podcast. I thought everybody would have a Wii U, or the vast majority, but I was really surprised by the results. And even the age group of our listeners, I thought was interesting. And also, like you said, thanking everybody, I really also want to add that even I'd be curious to see what the statistics are of people who actually watch the entire podcast, because I've seen the comments, and there's actually comments that are related to stuff we talk in almost the end of the podcast. So it means that most people that are watching this or listening to this stay for the long run. So it's this is why you and I do videos. It's for to get a community and get responses. And man, I've been having a blast doing these podcasts with you lately, and the response has just been incredible. And I hope we keep this going, and because every week we seem to to improve on the previous podcast.
Yeah, well, did you see the video that I posted on, when was it? Friday, I think? Where I was telling people just some of the plans for this year and, whether or not they'd be interested in some of the stuff. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I did.
Did you see the comments from people?
Briefly, but yeah, I saw that there was all over the place. Like some people wanted you to cover handheld retro reviews. Others wanted you to continue with the arcade stuff. Others were saying that they were subscribed for Saturn Day. There was all tons of stuff. It was pretty, but mostly positive stuff too.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like pretty much everyone was saying, what they wouldn't mind seeing and whatever, but almost every single person was saying that like they enjoyed the content that we're producing here. And that was nice, honestly. So to anyone that commented on that or commented on this Fanboyz one, this is exactly what Steven said. This is why we do this. We don't do this for a paycheck. We don't do this for anything else. We both have good jobs. And we just do this because it's fun. And believe me, it's a lot of work sometimes, at least for one of us.
Yeah, it is. And I also wanted to quickly talk about, like, I had a 3DS game giveaway. And I was really hoping I would be able to give a game away, but sadly no one was able to complete those levels. But I did see a huge explosion of people trying those levels. At least when I checked the stats on Mario Maker. And even Cranberry, I noticed that she tried both. She couldn't defeat them, but I'm going to extend it for one more week, and I'm going to actually, instead of having to beat both levels, I'm going to let the first one who's able to beat one of those two levels and send me like a message or whatever. I'm going to give you a 3DS game. I just want to give you an extra week. And because I just want to give a game away to thank everybody and make it interesting. And also, I want to personally say that I really enjoy seeing the gameplay portion because I'm a huge Nintendo fanboy. I've been telling people that for a long while now, and I enjoy doing the Canadian Gamers podcast too as well. But the gameplay in there, I look at it, but I'm not as interested. But when you play like Zelda, for instance, I looked at all the podcasts. I could look at them without the sound even because it's always better for me to look at classic Nintendo games. And even with Metroid Fusion, like it's a blast to see you play that. So I can't wait to actually see what's going to happen in the next podcast. Not just our voices, but the gameplay footage. And we've also got pretty good success on our straw poll. I think Animal Crossing Wide World won by a pretty big margin, but people showed up for that too. I think we got at least 20 people who, and that might sound small for big stuff, but for us, like that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, that's the thing. Like, people need to understand that like this really does mean the world to us, guys. I mean, 288 people checked out that podcast, and of those 288, like 20 people or whatever, voted on that, and maybe the ones that watched it who didn't care, they were just like, oh well, whatever, like play whatever the hell you want. And that's cool. But the fact that people go out of their way and go to other sites or go like try your levels and stuff like that, like that's so cool. Like I love that. To me, that's what this is all about. And as long as we continue to get that, I want to keep going. I love this. This is so much fun. So with that, that's going to pretty much conclude last week's podcast. So like Steven said, you've got another week, people. Hop to it. I am sure one of you can beat at least one of those levels. Which were the two levels? We can just tell them right now. What were they called?
It was called the Panga for Noobs and the Trials of Doom.
Okay. Now, to be fair, these are not exploit levels or anything like that, correct?
What do you mean by
Well, in other words, that like there's some exploit that you have to do in order to beat them. These are legitimate.
Yeah, they're legitimate levels. They're hard levels, but they're legit. And even then, like, I've been playing a lot. Like, my skills in Mario Maker, I've been telling you this, I've been sending you texts about that game every day now, are really improving every day because I've been playing Panga's levels, and I've actually managed to complete a few of those. And I've just this morning tried those 2 levels that I just mentioned for people for the giveaway, and I'm able now to beat them rather easily. So they are doable. Just don't give up, and you'll quickly, eventually, beat it, and you'll get a free 3DS game out of it. So why not try it?
Exactly. So there you go, peoples. Now, speaking of some 3DS here, well, I actually wrote it. It's going to be our topic of the day. Do you want to cover the topic of the day, or should we do a few things first?
Yeah, let's start with that.
Okay, so our topic of the day and the title of this podcast is that Nintendo needs to fix the Virtual Console. And basically, Steven's going to run down just a couple of things of, in his opinion, of what's wrong with the 3DS Virtual Console, or maybe even on the Wii U. What are some of the big problems?
All right, so first off, like there was 2 huge games released on the Wii U Virtual Console in the span of our last podcast and this one, and we're going to talk about this once we're done with our little rant here. But my biggest gripe I have with the Virtual Console of Nintendo service is its pricing system. It's just completely not competitive with everybody else. Like you'll be able to chime in a bit more because you've actually used services like Steam, which I haven't, and I remember that you've been talking about how crazy the prices are in those games. Like basically sometimes, I think at one point you got a game like Tomb Raider for like not even $5 when it was not even a year old. And here on the Virtual Console, Nintendo is charging $5 for a Nintendo game. Like Super Mario Bros. 1 is $5. And to add insult to injury, they are having a massive sale right now. They're calling it the winter sale or something like that. And the discounts are absolutely ludicrous. It's like some games, like instead of paying, let's say $3.99 for a game, you're gonna be paying $3.29 for it, and that's not really something people are gonna jump on. Like Nintendo, any NES games shouldn't be more than $1, and they should have these like red flag sales for like 25 cents a game. Just go for it. Try to have massive traffic or something just to like I'm gonna let you talk a bit about the prices because even PS2 games on PS4 are $10 to $15 if you want to compare, when you can buy a Game Boy Advance game on the Virtual Console for $8.
Well, I think you just nailed it. I mean, just within its own competitors, right? Like it doesn't really make much sense. You go over how much does No, that's not a good comparison. But yeah, if you say like those PS2 games where I think they're like $12 or $15 on the PS4 that you can get now, and that just doesn't make any sense to me because if it's $5 for an NES game, like what the hell? Now I understand that Nintendo values their IP higher than elsewhere, but come on. Which Animal Crossing was it that actually had Nintendo games built into it?
It was the original here GameCube version.
So there, you know? And wasn't there like at a time with the e-reader that you could swipe cards and unlock NES games or download NES games or something like that?
Yeah, but those cards weren't cheap either, so it comes...
No, but my point, what I'm trying to get at, is not so much that for price. It's that these games are so minuscule today. They're so tiny. They're so, like, you could have them on anything. Charging $5 just seems crazy to me. Like, I'm right there with you. It should be like $1. And, like, I don't know. I don't understand. I've never understood. Even since the Wii, when like the Wii's Virtual Console was awesome, like in terms of all the different systems and everything. But even then, like the pricing I thought was crazy. Because if you look at what you said, Steam, when Steam has the Steam Summer Sale or any of their other sales, games, they don't look at the price. It's not like they go, oh, well, this was $3.99, now it's $3.25 or something stupid like that. They're basically like, oh, all of these games that are on this list are 50%, 75%, 85% off. It doesn't matter what the price is. So if the game was $10 and it's 85% off, look at what you're paying. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely ludicrous. And they do it for games sometimes that aren't even a year old, like Borderlands 2 and stuff like that. I remember saving like $30, $40 off the retail price was crazy. Like, you could get Metal Gear Solid 5 for significantly cheaper than anywhere else just because of those sales. And so, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think that that they really need to wake up, and this is going to be extremely important with like NX. They can't be making silly mistakes like this. If they had a virtual console, be it a subscription service or whatever, that maybe a subscription service. What about this? Would you pay $8 to have every NES and SNES game and like, you know, all basically everything that was on the Wii? Okay, everything that was on the Wii's Virtual Console, would you pay $8 a month for that?
Oh, yes, I would. And I wouldn't be the only one.
Exactly. And I don't understand, like, if they took, like, a Netflix model, I could see that being
even the PlayStation Plus, kind of. Like, that's a pretty good deal, PlayStation Plus, I find. You get online gameplay, plus you get, like, every month you get tons. Like, I got Rocket League for free, basically, because of that. And that was one of my best games last year, so they need a similar model. Because they have the best retail catalog of all major companies out there, so why not take advantage of it?
And that's the thing. That's what bothers me is that. Like, to me, I look at it like maybe that's what they think they're doing. They think that by charging these prices that, you know, they're retaining the allure of these games, like, oh, it's worth $5. Yeah, okay, maybe Super Mario Brothers 3 is worth $5, but when you start going into certain other NES games, like, come on, it's crazy. I just find it totally ludicrous now, and I think you're right. Yeah, that would work too. Like, just, you know, we pay $60 a year or whatever, and you give us like some Virtual Console games free, you give us a 3DS game free, and you give us a Wii U game free, boom, or whatever, if we're talking about the NX in the future, whatever. But yeah, I think definitely that's something that they're going to have to fix moving forward.
Yeah, even the eShop, like they used... I remember I was applauding them a few years ago when they did stuff like releasing new Super Luigi U first on digital and cheaper also. They did the same thing with Zelda, where?
Hyrule Warriors?
No, the Toon one.
Wind Waker.
Yeah, Wind Waker. Wow, I had a brain fart there. Yeah, Wind Waker HD. They released it 2 weeks earlier on the eShop,
that's right.
And I believe it was $10 cheaper. So that I always like incentives for buying games digitally. If you're gonna offer me the same game and give me a $10 discount for it, sure, it's interesting. So they need to be a lot more aggressive. And my second point with them was, like, when you look at sales, you look at the 3DS and the Wii U, it's not even close. And the 3DS Virtual Console for me has been a massive, massive failure. There's no reason for it to not have Super Nintendo games on it. There's no reason for it to not have Game Boy Advance games. There's no reason for it not to have N64 games. Like, all these games should be on there and they should be pushed. And they should also have more Game Boy Color games. Basically more of stuff. I know it's not as easy as it sounds to port these games over. There's lots of work to be done. You need to make these games be re-rated and all that crap. There's lots of work to be done, sure, but still they need to do that. They need to offer customers value all the time, and they've really failed with the 3DS. And I find it puzzling because they've been Like the Wii U's virtual consoles has been another story because technically you can go and buy every single Wii game that's been released. And you can also buy Game Boy Advance games. There's tons of stuff that makes no sense. The Wii U is a massive failure, yet it has a lot more to offer in the virtual console than the 3DS is. Explain that to me.
I will. The 3DS doesn't need it. That's it. I'm done. No, but I'm serious.
So
like,
they don't
I think,
want to make money, I guess?
No, but I think it's just that. It's exactly what you said, that I think it takes work, right? However much work it does take, because personally, I don't see it being that much work. I know everybody say, oh, this, that, and the other thing, but come on. Every single game in the world is available online today. Like all of them. You can emulate everything. And if some kid in his basement can create like a world-class emulator in 6 months, I'm pretty sure that the companies that make the games can do a better job. Like it doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, whatever. But I think it's just that. I think it's like, they're like, well, why bother? The 3DS is a runaway success. It has enough stuff on it. Who cares? Why put the extra effort and money? Let's maximize our profits. Forget it. Like, people are happy with what it is. Leave it alone. And the Wii U needs something, anything, and it will make sense if NX is backwards compatible to Wii U, and they could move that platform from there over to NX, then it would make a lot more sense, because then it's like, okay, we're maximizing our potential for launch day of NX if we can simply migrate the virtual console over to NX. Now, if they can't do that, then yes, this is really stupid.
All right, so moving on. Let's move on. There's 2 games that were just released on the Virtual Console that I've been enjoying a lot. I don't know if you had a chance to play them. One of this is actually Metroid Zero Mission, and I believe it was released like 1 or 2 days after our last podcast. So that might seem like old news for you guys, but I want to talk about, because if we ever do come around to put and make our top 5 or top 10 favorite games of all time, Metroid Zero Mission would land in my top 5. I adore this game. And before this morning, actually, I played it for like an hour, and then my plan was just try it out while the other game I'm going to talk about was downloading, and I just didn't see the time go by, and all of a sudden I was an hour of game time in it, and I just had a blast, because I used to speedrun that game, and I used to even complete that game with the lowest amount of items possible, and that's tricky, trying to defeat the Mother Brain with only missiles and no double jumping and stuff like that when there's that infamous like escape sequence like there is in every Metroid game where you need to escape by bomb jumping because you can't double jump. It's just crazy, the stuff I used to do in that game, and apparently I forgot it all. And it's crazy because I used to know that game by heart. And now I'm playing through it, and I'm getting lost left and right. But it's amazing. Like, I'm having a blast. It feels new again, which is perfect for me. Did you try it? No, not yet, because I told you, if I download that, I am not going to do what our fans asked us to do. But what was your past experience with Zero Mission? Did you like it as much as I did, or did you prefer Fusion?
Well, okay. I think probably Zero Mission was your version of Super Metroid, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, for me, the only Metroid game that like I really like destroyed was Super Metroid. Like, that was the one where I would purposely challenge myself to say, like, okay, well, what do I not need to beat this game and all that sort of stuff. But with Zero Mission, no, not to your extent. I mean, I beat it a few times because I really enjoyed how they fleshed out like the original Metroid, and I think that remains probably the best remake of all time. Like,
I don't even consider it a remake, because if you put both games side to side, like the similarities aren't there anymore. There's basically, I think, like they took a few things from the NES original. Maybe they maintain a bit of the story, but like it's a remake, I'll give you that, but it doesn't look anything like the previous game.
Well, no, but I'm not like that's a good thing.
Like they could have called it Metroid 4. and we wouldn't have noticed probably that it was a remake of one.
Oh, come on, man. No, but seriously, the big thing with Metroid, okay, like the original Metroid, for me anyway, was the fact that when you played Super Metroid, go back to the original Metroid, and it's very hard to play the original Metroid now. Like, even so much so that, like, I don't like playing the original Metroid anymore because I just get so aggravated. I mean, if you recall, your original, like, shot doesn't it goes like what, an inch or 2 inches in front of you, like it's pathetic. But what was so cool with Zero Mission, it was like, okay, well, we're gonna retell you the original story of the first Metroid game, but you're gonna have all the gameplay innovations made since Super Metroid, and I loved that. Like, I absolutely loved that. I thought that was brilliant. But Zero Mission today is actually, it's so sad to me. Like, I don't even like talking about the game because it reminds me that was the last 2D Metroid game that we got. And how long ago was that?
That was a while. I could Google it, but it was a while, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It was a long time ago, and that's why it's sad. Like, I will get to that. I'm going to finish off Fusion, but Fusion's the same, man. Like, I don't remember anything. I don't know if you noticed in the video, but, like, I'm going around. I'm like, where am I going?
Well, Fusion is a different story because that was actually released coincidentally with Metroid Prime. So, man, that was a good time to be a Metroid fan back in the day.
Well, the way I looked at it was a good time, yeah. But it was so funny because the guy on the Metroid database, which was the oldest, and probably if it's still around, it still is the oldest Metroid website, and I'll never forget what that guy wrote. He said, "Thanks, Nintendo. It's about time." You know? Except there was a swearing, a nice swear word in between that. But it's true, because you have to think that after Super Metroid, which was like SNES, you know, we didn't get Jack until GameCube. Like, that's insane.
Well, it's about the same now.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's the exact same thing right now. And it's so sad. And I'm really, really hoping that things turn around for that because, like, son of a bee, man, it sucks. But anyways, yeah, I can't wait to play Zero Mission. But now that we've got our poll results, the thing is, with Animal Crossing, it doesn't really end.
Now, what I think with Animal Crossing is just do, like, 2 podcasts with it. Like, that way we'll get a good gameplay session out of it, and that should be fun. Like, you don't need to push it that much, but...
Well, I mean, you'll tell me, okay? Like, when you watch it there, and you'll tell me what, like, if you're like, okay...
I figure, like, about 2 hours and a half of footage will be fine, and usually our podcast lasts for an hour and 15 minutes, so that, to me, that makes sense.
Okay, well, you'll tell me, okay? If you find it like, no, I could push it a third podcast or something, I'll go ahead and do that. But the next game after Animal Crossing will definitely be Metroid. There's no question about that, because, like, damn it, I wanna play the game. So what was the second game?
Well, that's another game you might want to play, because this was surprising to me. I never actually played this version of Mario 3, I believe. I might be lying to you because I might have the game, but I don't think I did back in the day. That's Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3, and these titles I always found them confusing. But the thing with this game was that I remember briefly that Nintendo came out with an accessory called the e-reader for the Game Boy Advance, which basically lets you scan cards through the system and unlock true DLC content during games, because these were not actually in the cartridges. And I never actually bought that. I don't know if you did, but I never actually bought that back in the day. So I never experienced these levels, and I did not know much about them. And apparently Japan got a lot more than we did. But the thing is, I read about these, and I found it surprising, because there is 33 or 34, or around that range, from 30 to 36 levels, exclusive levels, that Super Mario Bros. 3 e-reader levels. And these are extremely interesting because I just played some. I downloaded the game this morning and I played a lot. I actually played for almost 2 hours because I was having such a blast playing these e-reader levels. And they're hard, man. They're hard because, like me, you probably played a lot of Mario Maker and you're used to the controls of Mario Maker. And if you go back to even Super Mario Brothers 1 today, you'll see that the controls are not as stiff as you remember them being. I don't know if it's because of the frame rate or because of the console, not as powerful as a Wii U, obviously, but if you play Mario Brothers 1 on Mario Maker and you play Mario Brothers 1 on Nintendo or the Virtual Console, you'll see a huge difference in controls. And I was playing these levels and I was getting my ass kicked because I was, like I said, I was used to the Mario Maker controls. The thing about these levels that is interesting is that they don't follow the rules of Mario Brothers 3. There's a level that I played which has the cape from Super Mario World in it. And the mechanics are in there. You can bounce around like flying in the parachute style. You can everything is in there. And then you see enemies from Mario Brothers 2. You see vegetables. It's crazy. These levels are absolutely crazy. And like I said, they're very, very hard. And to really master them, you need to beat them with Mario and Luigi, and both characters play completely different. This is the drunk Luigi from Mario 2, so he's hard to control. He slips around, he jumps like a moron. It's amazing. And there's also, each level has 1 or 4 or 3 or 5 coins you need to find. So there's a lot of stuff to do if you want to master these levels or master these games. And then again, there's also Mario Brothers 3 included, which is one of the best Mario games out there. So this is a really excellent version of Mario 3. And a nice piece of history that I knew nothing about. So you probably might want to let's play these e-reader levels also.
Yeah, you said they're accessible right away, right?
Yeah, they are from the get-go.
So let us know, how expensive was the game?
$7.99. Again, I think it's a bit too much for a Game Boy Advance game. I'll gladly pay that because Mario 3 is a really good game. And these levels, like I said, there's over 30 levels that you can't play here because they never were released. And also, hunting down that e-reader and all those cards would be expensive too. So yes. You get that all. And I find it interesting that they were able to fit these levels into cards. Because it's not like today when you buy DLC and sometimes the data is already on. The levels were actually in the cards back then. So that's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. Very, very cool. I don't really have anything to say. I didn't know about that. I mean, like you, I remember reading, different things, but not about Mario 3. And I owned Super Mario Advance 1 and 2, I think, because I thought it was stupid. The naming conventions and what they were doing, I didn't understand. I was like, this is retarded. But, yeah, no, that's definitely something we can add to the list. I mean, for $8, whatever. I just wanted to know just like that. And Zero Mission, is it the same thing?
Yep.
Okay. All right, cool. So how much is the DS game there, Animal Crossing?
I have absolutely no clue.
$80. Perfect.
I'd assume it's probably $9.99 or maybe the same price as the Game Boy Advance games, but who knows? It's Nintendo. Maybe it's $15.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. My guess was 15 or 20. Okay, well, I'll check that out. Okay, very cool. Very, very cool. So I think we'll be good to move on to what I'm essentially calling, I believe we should call them what, rumors, the next 2 points?
Yeah.
You want to tackle?
Yeah, sure. The first one I found interesting because, like we mentioned before, the Wii U basically only has 3 games coming out this year. 4 if you count Zelda Twilight Princess, which is a remake, so you can count it, but it's not really anything new. So there's Star Fox, which is not looking very good. There's Pokken Tournament, which I think will be a sleeper hit. And then there's the new Zelda at the end of the year. But now apparently rumors are going on that Intelligent System is working on a new Paper Mario for the Wii U. Not the NX, but for the Wii U. Which I found interesting because, like I said, I thought Nintendo was basically moving on. Apparently they aren't. And that's pretty much the gist of it. Like, and the source is like this is almost 100% confirmed because they announced something else. I believe was like an Amiibo Mario eShop game, and a week later it was leaked. So this is pretty much confirmed. We'll leave it in the rumor mill for now, but this is pretty much confirmed that there's a new Paper Mario coming on the Wii U. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, well, what kind of Paper Mario now? Because the Paper Mario series is divided into two different areas. Like, there's been the RPG thing has been the main thing, but there's also, they've done hybrids. What do you think this could potentially be?
There's been two of each, right? There's been two RPGs. There's been one on the N64 and one on the GameCube. And the Thousand Year Door, one of my favorite RPGs of all time. And then there's been Super Paper Mario on the Wii, which was a mix of a platformer and an RPG, and then Sticker Star, the 3DS. So there's been two of each. Sadly, I'm pretty sure this is going to be like another hybrid because the way they've been done is the first two were RPGs, full-fledged, and then they've been doing these a lot less, well, I don't know what the right word is, but I want to say that they take a lot less time to do, obviously. And I believe that's what's going to be the case for this one, too. I'm just going to close my phone here.
That's okay. You're turning into me. That's fine.
I hope it's a full-fledged RPG because I really enjoyed the Paper Mario RPGs. But then again, Paper Jam is coming out this month on 3DS, which is a hybrid of Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi, and this is a full-fledged RPG. So I don't see them doing two full-fledged Mario RPGs this year.
Yeah, neither do I. That's why I asked you, like, what your thoughts were on that, because you're more in the know than I am. But I mean, I'm curious. It's really hard with these sorts of things, especially with a game like that, because who knows? Like, if you would have told me all rumors are coming out that there's going to be a new Star Fox, right? Before, obviously, the Star Fox was announced, I would have been like, oh, sweet, you know? But for whatever reason, this new Star Fox does not look at all like something that I'm going to enjoy just because of the control layout. And so, like, with this, I don't know, lately I get very nervous when I get excited for certain Nintendo games before they're actually announced and I see what they're like. I mean, Paper Mario, though, it's kind of hard to go wrong, right? I mean, even if it's a hybrid, I'm sure it'll still be a fun game and it'll...
The only redeeming factor for me is that it's being made by Intelligent Systems, so that could mean that it is a full-fledged RPG and it's going to be awesome because these guys simply, they rarely make a subpar game.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's just it. That's a very old, very talented group. So we'll see. Hopefully you're right, and like we hear about it in the not too distant future. And the second thing that I want you to talk about is something that I'm sure we're going to have some a little discussion.
This one, I believe, I wouldn't trust as much as the previous one, but we'll see. If it does indeed come out to be true, we'll have probably an entire podcast dedicated to this. Because what the rumors are saying is that Nintendo will actually launch two different NX systems. And the first one will be a portable system, and it should be out by the end of the year. Now, what's interesting about this is the price point. It would launch at $200, and they're saying it's because they don't want to repeat the 3DS mistake they did, which I think the 3DS launched at $300 or even more.
Something, yeah.
And they don't want to repeat that, so they're going to launch it at $200, which would make it extremely affordable for a new system. And they're saying that its sister or brother will launch, like the console NX would launch later in 2017. Now, this is interesting. What do you think about that?
Well, 3DS is super successful. Like, I get it. I know it's time, right? Like, they've done the revisions, they've done everything else, but there's some big games still coming up this year for the 3DS, at least from a third-party standpoint and stuff. I don't know, man. If this is true, like if they have a portable that comes out in for $200 and it's it's nothing boring. It looks good. It's got some good games and stuff like that. But yeah, that'll definitely be a win. It's just the timing. I don't know. I just don't know. But this whole thing of releasing it this year and then the console next year, I really like to see, like, how are these things working together? What's the, like, is there some ecosystem? Because I know the other rumors, they were talking about the console, and they were saying about different features you could even use on your PS4 and Xbox One. I was like, what?
That will never happen. I doubt it. But
well,
it's
I don't
rumors,
even know what.
So we never know. But it's.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, strategy-wise, I mean, are you ready for a new portable?
Well, that's the thing. Like, even when you look at the 3DS when it was released, there was still tons of games coming out for the DS. Like Pokemon Black and White 2 came out almost a full year after the 3DS was out. So Nintendo has done this in the past. Typically, handhelds with Nintendo, they die a lot slowly. When you look at consoles like the N64 last year, I don't think it even had a game out. Like, I'm exaggerating, but the same thing happened with the GameCube and the Wii, and now we're seeing this with the Wii U. Like, the consoles from Nintendo, usually when they die, it's not pretty. Like, there's nothing coming out for them. So it makes sense when you look at the history behind the company. Like, I would see Nintendo releasing a portable first, but what's interesting for me is that I always thought the NX was going to be a hybrid and they were going to be released at the same time. Now, how would that work? I never had an idea. Now this kind of gives us an idea that maybe they'll release them separately and one will come out first. So, like, this is interesting. I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I really need some more information on this because I too was thinking, like, I've been saying this for a long time, that eventually that Nintendo would just combine their efforts and have this crazy system that you could connect to your television, but that you could also take with you. Good Lord, what is happening over there? We're probably just deafened 16 people, but sorry. But yeah, so I don't know. Let's wait and see. But yeah, if this does like turn out to be true, that will be an interesting. That will be a very interesting podcast. And I'll tell you right now, with Nintendo's next machine, I'm definitely going to pre-order this thing for sure, and make sure I get that within the first like 2 days because I really want to experience Metroid at launch. You hear me, Nintendo? Make it happen. And so the next thing is my turn. Wow, I actually get to talk. You've been talking this whole time. Yeah, right. So this was confirmed news, what I'm talking about?
Dragon Quest, I believe.
Yeah, was it confirmed?
Yeah, it's confirmed, but we don't have an actual date.
Yeah, okay. That's good enough. So anyways, then like Steven just said, Dragon Quest, more specifically Dragon Quest VII, has been confirmed for a summer 2016 release, which is great news. Now, I have not completely gone through Dragon Quest VII on in the Japanese version at least, but what I have played, they've streamlined a lot of it from the PlayStation 1 original, which is a good thing. Because, to be really honest with you guys, I'm willing to bet that people who listen to this podcast, there's probably like 5 of you who have actually played Dragon Quest VII, well, rather Dragon Warrior 7, when it was originally released on the PS1. So I'm glad that they streamlined it, and it is a meaty game. It's one of those games where you can change your roles, your jobs, whatever you want to call them, and you can keep leveling up and leveling up and leveling up. It's sort of like Dragon Quest X, what I'm playing right now. You guys, if you've watched the Let's Play, you've noticed that I'm a monk. And off camera, I'm getting closer and closer to level 80. Now, the max ceiling is level 90. So I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but before the end of the year, I will be a max level character in Dragon Quest X. That's crazy to think that. But the game does not end there. By the time I hit my max level, I will be nothing. I will be I will just be a max level monk. Woo! Whoop-de-doo. What happens next is then I go to a bar and I switch to a level 1 warrior, for example, or mage, or something like that. And then I have to go from level 1 to level 90 all over again. Now, naturally, it's a lot easier because what you do, you form a party at level 90, then switch back to level 1, teleport yourself to a dungeon with, like, level, say, 20 monsters, and your team will just eradicate all of the enemies, and you'll gain, like, say, like 5 levels per battle or something. So it's not impossible. And Dragon Quest VII shares a little bit in common with that in the sense that you're constantly upgrading levels and upgrading classes to make yourself even more powerful. So if you play this game long enough, you could play it for hundreds upon hundreds of hours. My only fear with this one is I just hope I have time. And are you going to be checking this out?
Oh, yes, for sure, because I've never actually played Dragon Warrior 7. Even though I have it, I've never tried it, and I've always been intimidated by it. So I'm not sure if I'm going to like it, but I know I'm going to give it a fair chance because what I like about the 3DS is that it always gives me an excuse to go to the bathroom and play a bit more. And so I always have, like, because sometimes I don't have time to play a console game, but because of family reasons, whatnot, my girlfriend's here or the kid is there, so you can always go to the bathroom a bit more often than you should. So that's what I do with 3DS. I've been managed to complete a lot more 3DS games and console games because of that. So maybe I'll give Dragon Quest. I'm pretty sure I'm going to at least give a dozen or 20 hours into that, and I'll see if I like it. Fine, I'll continue. And because with me, after 12 hours, I usually know, and if I like a game, usually I really like it. It's rare that I'm in the middle, so we'll see. The one I'm really, really looking forward to is Dragon Quest VIII, which is supposed to also hit in 2016, because that one I haven't played since the PS2 came out. And I know you recently completed it, so you'll be able to talk a bit more, but I'm a bit worried, though, that they're going to release both games on the same year, and I'm just worrying that it might take some sales out, because people, by the time Dragon Quest VIII is out, people won't be done with 7. Like, it's a long game. So we'll see. But
you just said it. That's really the main, not the only, but that's the main comment I wanted to make was, Dragon Quest VIII, that is the Dragon Quest that more people know of Dragon Quest VIII than any other one, because that was the most successful Dragon Quest in North America. And I think Europe, it was the only Dragon Quest that was, like, released, excuse me, up to that point anyways. And mind you, Dragon Quest IX was really popular too, but I don't think it was as popular. Anyways, whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, everybody knows Dragon Quest VIII. Like, they know what that game is about. And the new stuff that they added into Dragon Quest VIII on the 3DS, or like the quest system from 10, it just goes to show how influential 10 really has been. Like, and I guess you could argue that started in Dragon Quest IX, which you wouldn't be wrong. But the thing is, again, I really wanted to comment on that, what you mentioned, Stephen, because I think that is what they're going to do. And that really scares me, because then they'll say, oh, you see, the games, like, there's no audience for them. They cannot release Dragon Quest VII and VIII close together. Doing that is ridiculous. Let Dragon Quest VII have its time to shine. Let it, the sales taper off. And then, okay, like, release it, but later, like, give people the chance to really dig into Dragon Quest VII. Because I'm so scared that they're going to release Dragon Quest VII and then, like, 2 months later release Dragon Quest VIII, or, like, 3 months later, and then people just don't know what to do. And I really, really hope that's not the case. But potentially this goes back to the earlier rumor of a new portable coming out this year, which could be why Square Enix wants to rush it out. I'm
just glad we're getting them, though, honestly, but I want them to have the most success possible, so that Square, even these, I think they're published by Nintendo. If I don't care who publishes them, it could be you. I just want them, so hopefully they sell, like, reasonable. Like, these are not going to be million sellers. I don't think there will be million sellers, but they don't need to be. Just show that there's interest here, and the series will live on. That's my hope, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's my hope too. I mean, almost every single video we're up to. I just today recorded episode 63 of Let's Play Dragon Quest X, and I think it's every single episode I mention why can't this be released outside Japan? And I'm not saying that Dragon Quest X is going to come, outside Japan, get released outside Japan, but at the very least, 11, like I'm worried about the future of this series getting released outside Japan, especially if these two do not do well, then I'll get really, really nervous. Anyways, to move on, you wanted to mention sort of a follow-up on last week's news when we were talking about, the quote-unquote old 3DS versus the new 3DS and how so few games had taken advantage of it. But now you have some new news.
Yeah, I think I mentioned last week that it was maybe time for people to invest in a new 3DS if they wanted to keep playing 3DS games. And it seems like one of the biggest release, I think it's coming out in March, which is Hyrule Warriors Legends. And there's been a video going on, and the difference is drastic. Basically, the game doesn't run well at all on the old 3DS system. So if you want to play that game, you might want to invest in a new model because it doesn't look good.
And what new model could I potentially be purchasing?
Well, there's tons of new stuff. So I think you're segueing into the Fire Emblem stuff, so I'll talk about that. They've announced a kick-ass new 3DS XL model. Have you seen it? It looks
I haven't.
Fantastic. Like, I'm really regretting what I did, which was I bought like the new 3DS XL Zelda version, the Hyrule one. And the thing about that one is I overpaid for it because it was $259.99 for no reason at all. And now I think it's still available and the price has really gone down. And there's two new models. One I will talk a bit later on that I'm really interested in. And this is one of it. Like, if you haven't, I think you haven't invested in the North American new 3DS yet. So this one you should be right up your valley.
Get it?
Pardon?
Where can I get it?
We're in Canada, so it's not available anywhere yet. Right. So, but if you want it, like every limited model out there, you'll have to pretty much be right on the button. Or on release day, since you're in Montreal, you can go to various stores, and I'm sure one will have it. But yeah, there's a new kick-ass model out. If you want to look at it, go ahead. It's one of the better looking ones. And then I also want to talk about censorship. With pretty much every Fire Emblem games, there's always revisions to the script, obviously. But now this is a pretty big one. And we've talked about this in the previous Canadian Gamers, how I thought Nintendo mishandled the... what was the name of that game? Tamagotchi Life or something like that? Yep. Where they, like, same-sex marriage wasn't an option in those games. And Nintendo America couldn't really do much when it came to that game because, like, the game was already done. They couldn't really change it. But with this game, they're actually changing a lot of the dialogue. So they've made it so that there's no mention of drugging or no mention of gay conversations. Basically, there's a pretty controversial scene in the Japanese version where a character basically drugs another character to cure them of their homosexuality. So that's a huge, controversial. And I kind of get why Nintendo censored that, because that would have been, imagine the headlines here.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing that I find weird is that there's, they allow you, there's a few characters that, or I think there's one per game, because as you know, the game comes out in 2 versions, and then there's a 3rd version, but basically there's 1 or 2 characters per game that can have same-sex marriage. And I believe those characters are gay. They are not bi or anything. They can only be married to another female or male character. But I find it weird that there's no possible mention of gay conversations in actual conversations. So they seem like they've censored the game, and even drugs and stuff like that. So I know that Japanese have always been more accepted of drug use and stuff like that than North American, not North American audience, but Nintendo has here. I'm going a bit too. I'm losing myself here, but I'll let you talk about a bit, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Well, I mean, Nintendo's been like this for years and years and years and years and years. This is really nothing new. They've been trying to keep up that certain image, and I don't want to say family friendly. It's who they are. They really try and get away from controversies and stuff like that. Even though doing so, like with the Tamagotchi Life one, it bites them sometimes in the ass after, because it sort of brings in controversy. So or controversy rather. So no, I mean with this, I don't know what was the smart play for them to do, because had they released, I mean, I understand the dialogue and stuff, that's like a bit excessive. That whole thing though, being able to be quote unquote cured, that I could actually see them, if people like interviewed and said like, oh, why did you remove that? They would say, well, because that's something that we don't believe in. We believe that everyone should be able to do whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like they could have played that up in a positive way, but the removing of all the other stuff, that to me is classic.
Don't get me wrong. Like I think that the fact that some people think that being gay is a choice is absolutely ludicrous. That being said, like if a character in a game thinks that way, that's fine. Not every character needs to be politically correct. So I have a bit of a problem with that, the censorship in that sense. But I understand that they're avoiding huge controversies here.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, seriously, that's that. It's not surprising. To me, this isn't surprising at all. And I'll tell you right now, this is not going to be the last time something like this pops up, because it's Nintendo.
At least the option to have same-sex marriage is in the game, so it's a huge step up from Toma whatever life is. So at least they're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's a good way of looking at it.
Because I believe it's the first Fire Emblem game to have same-sex marriage, right?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
So it's probably the first Nintendo published game to include that, but I'm not sure about that one. But
yeah, me neither. But no, I mean it's definitely a path on the right in the right direction. That's for sure. And now I'm going to go to sleep while you talk about the next. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
All right, so we have tons of Pokemon news, which could be covered in 30 seconds or 15 minutes, depending on if Jared decides to show up here. First, Pokken Tournament. Finally have a release date for that, which is 18 March, which is a lot closer than what I was expecting, which is awesome. So this, you should put that on your calendar. This is going to be a Smash Brothers type of game. Well, not really. It's going to be more of a traditional fighter, but I believe it will have the same success. It has the potential to have the same success, because this is Pokemon, Nintendo's biggest franchise, and this is a fighting game that's multiplayer friendly. So I believe people will buy this game in the masses. We'll see if I'm wrong in March.
Okay, let me comment right here. Okay, I'm here, man. I'm not gone. I have arrived. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is an arcade-based fighter, is it not?
Indeed.
Okay, you have no idea what board this was released for, right?
Of course.
Okay, great. Perfect. No, because I'm just curious, because this was created by Tekken, no? Tekken.
Namco,
But yeah. So I'm wondering if it uses that engine, if it's based on the Taito X2 hardware, or if they made like a proprietary arcade board, because Nintendo hasn't made an arcade board since wasn't there a Mario Kart game released in arcades?
Yeah, there was during the GameCube days, but that was done by Sega.
Yeah, that was the Triforce board, so that I know, but I thought there was nothing else after that?
Well, there was also F-Zero, but I'm not sure if there was anything, if it came after or before Mario Kart.
Well, anyways, for me, that's what I'm the most interested in. I know that's the big nerd in me, the arcade fan in me, because I'm really curious to see what hardware that is actually running on. Because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a Wii U arcade board. Like, I'm pretty sure it's not a proprietary board. It's most likely the Taito X2 or maybe even the X3. But either way, that's still pretty cool. Like, that's cool that there's a brand new Nintendo game that you could play in the arcades. I think that's pretty awesome.
No, and I think you'll enjoy this game. It's a one-on-one fighter. And the funny thing is that also it's going to include LAN, which is crazy. A Nintendo game which will have LAN. Like, I haven't seen that since Mario Kart Double Dash. So that's going to be awesome because if you want to play on the same system, one will have to use the gamepad, the other one will have the TV screen, and the game will drop at 30 frames per second. But because you both need your screen. But if you play with LAN, obviously it will keep its 60 frames per second. So that's pretty cool. I know that I have a buddy here and we'll be using that LAN feature. And it also there'll be an exclusive like controller released. I don't know if it's from Mad Catz, but it's from somebody, and they're gonna be from somebody obviously. But there's gonna be a kick-ass like fight stick, well not fight stick, but fight pad for this game.
Is it mimic after the Saturn pad?
It might be.
Because they usually are. Fight pads are usually
but it's not with an actual like fight stick. It's like a D-pad, but it's designed like a fight pad. I don't know how to explain it, but it's pretty cool.
Okay, cool. I'll take a look at that. Maybe we can get an update for the next podcast, whether or not Pokken Tournament. It's actually called Pokken Tournament, right?
Yep.
Is what the hell it's running on, because it was not designed for the Wii U.
Nope.
So that's interesting.
I hope the name will not turn out to be a mistake because, like I said, Pokemon is their biggest franchise, and maybe some people won't know that it's a Pokemon game from the name. Of course, they'll know from the box, but we'll see. All right, next up, Pokemon XYZ. See anything interesting in that name? This animated series will debut, I think, later this year.
Okay.
Interesting. Pokemon X and Y has been released for the 3DS.
Well, there you go.
2 years ago, but they've never released Pokemon Z, which has long been rumored to be the third entry in this series.
Well, there you go.
This pretty much confirms it, but then again, this is Nintendo. Who knows because this game is almost 3 years old by now. Will they actually release Pokemon Z? I hope they do. Like, we haven't had 2015 was the first year in like 8 years we haven't had a new Pokemon game. I really want Pokemon Z. I hope we get new details soon. And also, this year marks the 25th anniversary of Pokemon.
My God, man, we're getting old.
Yeah, we are. And they've announced some kick-ass bundles, man. I really want the new Pokemon 3DS system they've announced. And I might actually get this one because it's not an XL model, it's a regular model. And the only way to get a regular model in North America is either buying this Pokemon one or buying the Animal Crossing one. And these come with faceplates. But the interesting thing about this one is that it comes with two faceplates. It comes with the Pokemon Red faceplate and the Pokemon Blue faceplates. And they look kick-ass. Also, pre-downloaded on those systems are Pokemon Red and Blue, so you get two games. Of course, they're old games, but these games will probably be released for $10 each when they get released, I believe, on 27th of February. So I'm, again, really biting myself for having upgraded to the new 3DS XL, because I really want these. And the sad thing is they're only available so far on BestBuy.ca, at least in Canada. They're not exclusive or anything, but I've only seen them on Best Buy, and they're already sold out, of course. These will be hard to get, and you might want to pick these up if you see them in store, because they'll be worth a ton. These are kick-ass, and I really want them, damn it.
Well, you keep saying about Montreal being the easiest thing in the world, but apparently not, because I'm finding out now that if you live in a big city, you're pretty much screwed, because there are so many people who go around and do nothing but hunt down all this sort of crap. I went in and I was looking for one of my cousins an Amiibo, like a specific Amiibo. I don't remember what the hell one it was. And the guy behind the counter starts laughing at me. And I'm like, what the hell? And he's like, are you kidding? He's like, you pretty much had to have slept outside the store if you wanted to get it. They're like, we were sold out within 5 minutes of opening the shop. And when he went online, he's like, you cannot buy it in the city anywhere. So
But
I'm like,
pretty sure there's like 100 stores in Montreal. I'm pretty sure if you go to a few on launch day, you'll find one eventually. I'm pretty sure.
You said the same thing when Mal was here, and we were looking for Zelda, and we ended up finding it in the Source of all places.
There you go. You did find it, though.
Exactly. The last copy. That was pure luck.
No, but I'm pretty sure that if you go on launch day, if you wait, okay, yeah, you won't find it. But you have a lot more chances than me.
You have chance. Yes, I'll give you that. You definitely have more chances. I won't deny that. That's for sure.
Another interesting Pokemon news for Red, Blue, Yellow. Like we've talked about before, like Nintendo actually are changing the game so it will be allowing wireless communications, because the original Game Boy titles you could only use the link cable. Obviously that's not an option anymore, so now they'll be adding in wireless so you'll be able to enjoy the multiplayer aspects of Red, Blue, Yellow. An interesting thing, though, is that there will be no save states for this version, so you won't be able to use this. What do they call it? You could basically you do that with emulation, of course, but the Virtual Console has a button where you press it and you can create a save. And
save states.
Yeah, save states. Like I said, it won't be available for Red, Blue, Yellow. Which I actually like, because these are my babies, these games, and I prefer playing them legitly. But then again, like some people are complaining about that, and that's all right. I just wanted to quickly say that.
We just lost your voice completely.
Perfect. So what do you think about that? No save states for Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow.
It doesn't matter to me.
You don't.
Honestly, that sort of stuff doesn't matter. Like I totally forgot that there were save states in Metroid. Like I get into the game there, like Metroid Fusion, and then it's only after I'm like, crap, I got to make it back to a save point so I can shut off this video. And then I'm like, wait a second, no, I don't. I can just trigger a save state. But I do that all the time. I did that with Link to the Past. I did it with everything. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. That describes you, I believe.
It does. It does very much so. All right. So, gosh, this is going to be a long podcast today.
Good. So lastly, I wanted to quickly talk, before we jump into the Amiibo segment, on Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon.
Whoa.
Yeah, you might actually be able to participate in this one, because I think you've played a Mystery Dungeon game before. Maybe not. Anyway, this side series of Pokemon have been running since the Game Boy Advance, actually, and I've never played one. And I don't know why, because I've just completed this one, and those are fantastic games, let me tell you. Like, the gameplay is really... these games have typically received mediocre score, and I get why, because these are hardcore games. Like, Mystery Dungeon games are not for everyone. They're very, very hardcore. The difficulty curve, the learning curve is very high. But the thing that impressed me the most with this series is that the storyline is incredible. Pokemon has never been known to have incredible deep storylines, but the Mystery Dungeon ones really do have deep storylines and even mature teams and whatnot. They're it's like the developers of those games are given complete freedom, and this is rare because I think we've discussed this in our first Nintendo Fanboyz of how the Pokemon company really, really likes to protect its Pokemon IP, and I'm surprised at the freedom they're giving with these stories. And apparently, Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon has one of the weaker storylines in the series, so I'm really curious to go back and see what the other games are, because this is a fantastic game, guys. and you really should try it if you're interested in Pokemon. And I don't know if you have anything to add. Probably not.
Yeah, for this it's hard, man, because you're right. I have played, but a long time ago. I just don't remember much. But because you're talking all about the Pokemon stuff, and I'm sort of listening to you, I went online here to find an arcade cab of Pokken Tournament.
Okay.
I am sure, because this sounds like, just based on what I'm finding here, it looks very. You've talked about this. You must have that this arcade does not have a joystick.
Yeah. I knew that. I did not. I don't think I talked about it, but
well, no, it's just someone has, because like I'm looking at someone holding the manette, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, someone has told me about that because I remember that, and you can buy it now, man. If you're a big fan, it's $48,000 plus $5,000 shipping.
Okay, I'll get on that after this.
You should, and it comes with 2 machines, not just one.
Nice. I should remortgage my house.
Yeah, they LAN the 2 machines together, so there's 0 slowdown apparently. And the controller looks quite ghetto, let me tell you. It looks it looks like something. I'll text it to you later. It looks like something. Okay, anyway, so I guess now that means it's time for Amiibo news.
First, I've got some bad news for you. Unfortunately, Roy will be GameStop exclusive, and you know what that means.
He'll be worth $5,000.
Yeah, and he'll be impossible to find because it's a Fire Emblem character, and it's exclusive to GameStop, which means it might be exclusive here to EB Games, or it might be exclusive here to your mom's corner store. We have no clue in Canada how it will work. Nintendo are very, very special like that. So I got a bunch of Amiibo news there, and I'm in no particular order. And Nintendo also announced that they're going to be releasing a 3rd series of Animal Crossing Amiibo cards.
Ooh.
The 2nd series have recently started being distributed, I believe. And I'm almost done completing the 1st series of 100 cards, so that's a lot to collect for. And I'm just going to skip the 2nd series and 3rd series because honestly this is way too expensive to collect for.
Come on, man. I expected you to have them all.
They've also announced some new Animal Crossing Amiibos. Timmy and Tommy, Captain, which I'm probably going to get for you because you got me a kick-ass shirt of him, and you should get this one, damn it. And Rover will be released on the 18th of March. Hyrule Warriors, all the Zelda Amiibos, including the new Wolf Link one, will be compatible with Hyrule Warriors for the 3DS, and what they will do is basically the select Amiibo will enhance that character's weapon.
Ooh.
And Nintendo also announced that the Wolf Link Amiibo will unlock an exclusive.
What is happening on your side?
I think Elizabeth is changing Elliot's diaper right now. So
because all it...
Yeah, that could be what you're hearing. I'm not sure.
Okay, keep going. That's what makes us unique.
Indeed. Are you actually hearing what I'm saying?
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of. Perfect. All right. Nintendo has announced that there will be an exclusive dungeon for those that have the Wolf Link Amiibo for Twilight Princess HD. And that dungeon is not really anything to get excited about, so we'll leave it at that. Shovel Knight you'll be able to scan your Shovel Knight Amiibo through the box. So for those collectors out there that don't want to open their Amiibos, well, this one will be the first one which will be usable without unboxing it. And lastly, for my part, the Skylanders Amiibos for Donkey Kong and Bowser are now available to be bought alone, so you don't need to actually buy the whole game to get these. So that's it for me. I believe you had something to add.
I did?
You said you were going to talk about Dark Pit.
Oh, I was just going to tell everyone that I've got a great unboxing, potentially the world's best unboxing video of all time coming out. It may even be out before you see this.
So that was useless.
So it could be. It could be a useless thing. But again, because of you, I am now obsessed with Pokken Tournament, and I have discovered something else.
That is
you're going to love this. Apparently, they have started removing Pokken Tournament from arcades all across Japan because of a fundamental flaw in the design of the game. You ready for this?
I am.
1 game credit can last an average player over an hour.
Wow, so they're really making tons of money with that.
Exactly. So, yeah, that means that arcade machine is probably going to be quite rare.
Well, you should get your hands on one.
Yeah, I should.
Cover, because you've been on a rampage with arcade games lately. This is right up your alley.
It is. It really is, especially with that ghetto controller. That would be really something. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. Did you hear that?
I did.
I hope you did. So that's it. Our podcast was an hour and 15 minutes. I should have made quite a bit of progress in Metroid, unless I get lost. And that's pretty much it. So, as always, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Steven's going to listen to this podcast and probably say it was our worst one ever. And we'll have more views than ever before. So, really, though, that last podcast, it means the world to us. And, just keep leaving comments, and that interaction is what we live for. So, what do you guys think of the Virtual Console's prices, and why the 3DS Virtual Console's kind of crappy? Let us know. It'd be kind of interesting as the world explodes on the other end of the microphone.
Yeah, that's my son who wants to participate in Nintendo Fanboyz, a future fanboy himself.
I'm sure. So he can say the goodbye.
Oh, he found it yet. He's trying to shut down the conversation, so I don't think he'll join. Oh, there you go.
Okay. And with that, goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.